In the quiet expanse of space, far beyond Earth's reach, a massive fleet of alien ships emerged from a nebula, their sleek and ominous forms, drifting silently toward the blue planet below. Their mission was clear: to invade and conquer. They had done so to countless worlds before. Their technology was unmatched, and their strategy flawless. As their fleet approached Earth, the aliens watched as Earth's defenses scrambled in a panic. Their ships were far more advanced than anything humanity could dream of, their weapons capable of disintegrating entire cities with a single blast. The Earth's first line of defense, made up of a few outdated satellites and a handful of fighters, was no match for the alien might. Humans watched in horror as their cities were razed by the alien bombardment. In a matter of hours, Earth's leaders realized they were outmatched, outclassed, and out of time. They knew they couldn't hold off the invaders for long. Their only hope was to buy time and evacuate the most essential areas of their planet. But the alien fleet had already launched their assault, and Earth's fate seemed sealed. The alien commanders watched from their war rooms with cold indifference. Their strategy was perfect. They had expected no real resistance from a species like humanity, primitive and fragmented. They assumed the humans would cower in fear as their capital cities burned. But the aliens hadn't counted on one thing: the unyielding human spirit. As the alien ships continued their assault, a small group of human pilots who had not yet been called into action prepared for a mission they had no chance of surviving, but they were determined to give everything they had. The group was made up of the best and brightest humanity had to offer: military veterans who had fought in distant wars and pilots with unmatched instincts. They had all been trained for this moment, but none of them had ever dreamed they would face an enemy this powerful. With no time to spare and no backup to rely on, the human pilots launched into the fray, their fighter ships barely equipped with enough weapons to make a dent in the alien armada. But they had one advantage: the aliens were overconfident and arrogant. They believed the humans were no threat, and that arrogance would cost them. The human pilots darted through the alien defenses with unmatched speed and precision, their small but nimble ships weaving in and out of the alien fire, while returning blasts that caused minimal damage, but enough to make the aliens take notice. One pilot, a young woman named Aria, managed to outmaneuver an alien ship and land a direct hit on its engine. It was a small victory, but a victory nonetheless. The aliens were stunned. The idea that humanity had the ability to strike back seemed impossible to them. The alien commanders could not believe their eyes. What they had thought would be an easy victory was now slipping out of their grasp. Humanity was not crumbling in fear. They were fighting back. They were fighting with everything they had. And in that moment, the aliens realized they had underestimated the human race. As the weeks passed, the alien invaders began to realize that their initial success on Earth had not been as decisive as they had expected. While their overwhelming firepower had flattened cities and decimated military outposts, they had underestimated one critical aspect of humanity: its ability to adapt and innovate under pressure. Earth's surviving forces had done the impossible. They had not only regrouped, but were now finding ways to fight back in ways the aliens couldn't predict. Humanity scientists and engineers worked day and night scouring the wreckage of alien technology, trying to reverse engineer it and incorporate it into their own systems. The aliens had expected that once their technology was captured, it would be beyond the ability of the humans to understand. But they had failed to account for one thing: the humans had something that the invaders didn't: a relentless drive to survive and to adapt to any situation, no matter how dire. In underground labs across the world, human engineers fused alien technology with their own to create weapons that defied the invaders' expectations. They had thought that only their highly advanced energy weapons could break through the defenses of their ships. But now human-made projectiles enhanced with alien tech began to pierce their shields. For the first time, the aliens were feeling vulnerable. Aboard one of the alien motherships, Commander Xeric paced nervously in the command room. His fleet had suffered significant losses, and the humans were becoming more organized with each passing day. They were mounting guerrilla attacks in cities and hacking into alien communication networks to disrupt their command structure. Every move they made seemed to throw the invaders off balance. "What are they doing?" Xeric demanded, turning to his officers. How can they fight back like this? Their technology is primitive. They should have crumbled under our assault. His chief strategist, an alien named Teru, who had never seen a human before the invasion, spoke hesitantly. It is difficult to explain, Commander. They seem to have an instinctual understanding of our tactics. They adapt and learn at an extraordinary rate. We've underestimated them. Zarek slammed his fist onto the table. How can that be possible? They should have been broken by now. Instead, they grow stronger each day. The answer lay in humanity's unshakable will to survive. Their spirit was unlike any other the aliens had encountered before, and it made them a dangerous foe. Across the world, small victories began to turn into larger ones. The human military had learned how to strike the aliens where it hurt. Their forces now operated in highly coordinated groups. Instead of fighting head-on against superior forces, they used their knowledge of their own terrain to set traps and ambushes. Some of the most advanced alien ships had been destroyed not by brute force, but by carefully laid mines and improvised weapons. And then came the breakthrough when a team of scientists in a hidden lab finally cracked the code to one of the alien power sources they had been studying. The technology was highly volatile and unstable, but when harnessed correctly, it could potentially create weapons of unimaginable power. But humanity's greatest weapon wasn't just in the technology, it was in their minds. Earth's people had an ability to think outside the box in a way no alien race had ever seen before. They combined science with ingenuity, with a determination that couldn't be measured. The more the aliens pushed, the more the humans fought back in ways that caught them off guard again and again. On the battlefield, it wasn't just advanced weapons or strategy that gave humanity an edge. It was the unpredictable creativity they brought with every attack, and that very unpredictability made the aliens question whether they could ever truly win this war. The alien command had become increasingly frustrated with each passing day as Earth's resistance grew bolder and more effective. Despite their overwhelming technological superiority, they had failed to crush humanity's spirit and ingenuity. Instead, it seemed the humans were learning from every setback, adapting quickly to the ever-shifting tides of war. The aliens had come to realize that their calculations were wrong, and that their initial overconfidence might cost them the entire war. To the alien fleet's dismay, it became clear that Earth was not simply surviving, it was thriving in the chaos. The humans' guerrilla tactics had proven devastating. Their understanding of their own world allowed them to strike quickly and unexpectedly, and every small victory against the invaders only fueled their resolve. The Earthbound forces grew stronger with each passing week and began to form alliances among the scattered remnants of the world's military factions. They no longer operated as isolated units, but as a single coordinated force. As alien losses mounted across the globe, their commanders decided to escalate the conflict, hoping to bring the humans to their knees. With a decisive strike, they mobilized their entire fleet for a planet-wide assault aimed at Earth's capital cities, hoping that a concentrated attack would break the human will to resist once and for all. They intended to leave no stone unturned. The aliens launched their assault with terrifying precision, their ships descending like locusts onto the most populous regions of Earth. Massive bombardments rained down from orbit as alien war machines landed to take control of strategic sites all across the planet. Entire cities were reduced to rubble within minutes. The invaders showed no mercy as they crushed the last bastions of resistance. Yet even in the face of this overwhelming onslaught, humanity did not falter. The moment the first alien ships breached Earth's atmosphere, a plan that had been months in the making was set into motion. The scientists who had been studying alien technology in secret activated their newly developed weapons, and humanity's first coordinated counteroffensive began. The skies darkened as Earth's new fleet of hybrid ships, powered by a combination of human and alien technology, took off from their hidden launch sites. The hybrid ships had been designed to take advantage of both species' technological strengths. Humans had integrated alien energy weapons into their own vessels, while incorporating their adaptive flight patterns, making them faster and more maneuverable than anything the aliens had anticipated. The first wave of hybrid ships moved through the skies with calculated precision, avoiding the aliens' attacks and picking off key targets with surgical accuracy. Commander Xeric stood on the bridge of his mothership observing the battle unfolding below him. He had expected the humans to crumble under the pressure, yet here they were rising up with forces he had never seen before. Their newly adapted weaponry tore through his fleet like a scythe through wheat. One by one, alien ships fell as human forces launched a series of attacks on their supply lines and weak points. The invaders had believed they would face little more than panic-stricken refugees and scattered fighters, but instead they were met with a well-coordinated military that struck with deadly efficiency. Xeric's frustration turned to disbelief as a human fighter ship, led by a seasoned veteran, managed to slip past their defenses and directly attacked the central engine of one of the alien motherships, sending it into a spiraling crash that sent shockwaves across the battlefield. With each new blow, the alien commanders realized the truth: the humans were not only capable of holding their own, they were becoming a genuine threat. They had outsmarted them, outmaneuvered them, and now they were striking at the heart of their fleet. Humanity had defied all expectations, and the once overconfident invaders had been forced to reconsider their plans. Xeric could not help but question everything. He thought he knew about the human race. They had fought back when there should have been no hope. They had turned the tide of battle, and suddenly the war seemed far from over. As the battle raged on, the aliens found themselves retreating for the first time in weeks. Their once overwhelming superiority had crumbled under the relentless ingenuity of the human forces, and now they were facing a reality they hadn't expected. The humans were no longer just surviving. They were actively reclaiming lost ground and pushing back in ways that made the alien commanders question their entire strategy. With Earth's capital cities all but destroyed and the alien fleet in disarray, the invaders decided it was time to regroup and take a step back. The war was far from over, but the human counterattacks had been more effective than any of them could have imagined. Back on Earth, the victory was bittersweet. While humanity had gained some ground, the cost was staggering. Entire cities lay in ruins and millions of lives had been lost. The effects of the alien bombardments were still being felt, and much of Earth's infrastructure was in disarray. But amid the devastation, a glimmer of hope began to shine. The military leaders of the world gathered in the shattered remains of once grand buildings now used as command centers. Their faces were grim, but their resolve was stronger than ever. They knew the next steps were critical if humanity was to survive and ultimately win this war. A retired general stood at the front of the war room, his voice steady as he addressed the assembly. "We've turned the tide, but this is only the beginning. We cannot afford to get complacent. The aliens will regroup and come back stronger than before. We need to be ready for what's next." The scientists who had been working day and night alongside the military strategists were now in the spotlight. Their work in reverse engineering alien technology had unlocked powerful new weapons, but it had also come with risks. The weapons they had created were powerful, but unstable. Some of the energy sources they had used in these new weapons were volatile and dangerous. If mishandled, the consequences could be catastrophic. "We've created a new kind of weapon," one scientist said, his voice full of uncertainty, "but we don't know if it will work as we intended or if it will completely backfire." The general nodded gravely. "We don't have time to wait. We need to move forward. We'll deploy the weapons and hope for the best. We've already lost too much." Humanity had no choice but to forge ahead despite the uncertainty. They were facing their backs were against the wall, and retreating was not an option. The world's leaders made the difficult decision to begin rebuilding with an even greater sense of urgency, to build not just weapons but defenses that could hold off the aliens' next wave. But even as they worked toward rebuilding their military strength, something else was happening. Humanity was beginning to change in ways they had not anticipated. The war had forced them to come together as a single united species. Every nation that had once been divided by borders and ideologies now operated as one cohesive force. There were no longer separate armies or governments, but one unified front in the face of a common enemy. The people of Earth, who had once been scattered across continents, now shared the same purpose, the same drive, the same relentless determination to defend their planet and defeat the invaders who sought to destroy them. However, despite these advancements and the newfound unity across the globe, An even more difficult challenge loomed ahead. The aliens would return. They always returned, and this time they would be more prepared than ever. But humanity was no longer the helpless species they had once been. They were no longer a target. They were a force to be reckoned with. And this time, the aliens would learn the true meaning of resistance. The alien forces were regrouping, and their leaders were making plans for their next devastating strike against Earth. They had retreated to their distant command centers, reorganizing and recalibrating their tactics. But the truth was that even as they prepared their next move, they were still haunted by the resilience of the humans. Commander Xeric stood in the war room of his flagship, staring out at the swirling expanse of space beyond his eyes, narrowed as he studied the reports coming in from his scouts. They had underestimated Earth's ability to adapt, but worse still, they had underestimated humanity's ability to innovate when pushed to the brink. "We cannot afford another failure," Xeric muttered to himself, his mind racing through countless strategies to crush the humans once and for all. But despite their superior technology and overwhelming numbers, they hadn't been able to shake the humans' newfound resolve. Meanwhile on Earth, the war had taken a different turn. The constant alien bombardments had caused devastation beyond belief, yet humanity had refused to buckle. They had banded together in ways no one had ever thought possible, and the results were evident. Humanity's leaders had set up a unified command structure with scientists, military officials, and strategists from all corners of the world working in unison. Now there were no borders, no separations, only a singular focus to prepare for the inevitable return of the invaders. Across the globe, teams of engineers and military commanders were working tirelessly to enhance Earth's defenses. Human innovation had flourished in the face of danger. Reverse-engineered alien technology had been fine-tuned and adapted for Earth's specific needs. The new weapons were not only powerful, but highly efficient. A new fleet of hybrid ships powered by a fusion of human and alien technologies had been constructed, and human soldiers had been equipped with energy weapons and armor that had once been the stuff of science fiction. Earth's space defenses were now stronger than ever, and humans had developed cutting-edge communication systems that allowed for instant coordination among every corner of the planet. But there was more than just technology at play. What truly set humanity apart was their capacity to think outside the box, to see beyond the confines of conventional warfare. While the aliens relied on brute force and overwhelming firepower, humans relied on creativity and adaptability. A new form of warfare was emerging, one that the aliens couldn't have predicted. Humanity had turned the tables by turning their planet into a massive fortress, not just with walls or guns, but with traps and misdirection. The humans had learned how to fight in ways that even their most advanced enemies couldn't anticipate. The aliens had expected a second invasion would crush the humans once and for all, but what they found was an unyielding resistance force, determined to protect their planet at all costs. And what the aliens didn't realize was that while they had been rebuilding their forces, humanity had already learned how to fight on their terms. Earth's forces weren't just going to sit back and wait for the next invasion. They were taking the fight directly to the aliens in the uncharted corners of space. Human Command had authorized a daring mission, a preemptive strike aimed at crippling the aliens' most crucial supply lines before the next full-scale attack. A small but elite force of human ships had been outfitted with new stealth technology developed from alien schematics, and they slipped past alien patrols without detection. Their mission was simple but critical: destroy the alien supply chain and send a message that humanity was no longer content with merely defending. They would fight and win. As the humans made their way toward the alien stronghold, the anticipation in Earth's military command centers reached a fever pitch. Every strategist knew that this was not just a military mission. It was a statement that humanity was ready for war, and the aliens would not have the easy conquest they had envisioned. The mission would not be without its risks, but it was their best chance to shift the balance of power back into humanity's favor. And as the small human fleet approached the alien supply depot in deep space, the question on everyone's mind was clear: could humanity's boldness finally push the invaders to their breaking point? The small fleet of human ships drifted quietly through the void of space, their engines muted to avoid detection by the alien patrols. The mission was simple in concept: destroy the aliens' primary supply lines before their next major offensive could begin. But the complexity lay in the execution. The alien forces had grown more cautious, more organized, and more dangerous with every passing day. They had learned from their previous mistakes, and their vigilance had increased exponentially. It would be a miracle if the human force could infiltrate their heavily fortified supply depot and make it out alive. The fleet was led by Captain Marlowe, a seasoned veteran with a reputation for thinking outside the box. Her crew, a hand-picked group of the best and brightest from Earth's remaining military forces, was silent with anticipation as they navigated through deep space, their eyes fixed on the target. Marlowe's ship, a sleek hybrid vessel with both alien and human technologies, was one of the most advanced in the fleet. It could maneuver silently through enemy lines, its shields capable of deflecting most alien weaponry. But even with the most advanced tech, they were still vastly outnumbered. The success of the mission depended on the element of surprise, and Marlowe knew they couldn't afford to fail. Approaching the perimeter, reported Lieutenant Vega, the ship's navigator, her voice steadied despite the tension in the air. Marlowe nodded, her fingers tapping lightly on the console in front of her. Keep it quiet. One slip-up, and we'll be dead before we can fire a shot. The plan was risky. They would infiltrate the alien depot, plant a series of explosive charges on their primary energy sources, and then get out. The whole operation would take less than 15 minutes, and they would need to be long gone before the aliens had time to respond. It was a dangerous game, and Marlowe had no illusions about the risks. The aliens would be ready for a fight, and they would not hesitate to destroy anything in their path. As they neared the depot, the human fleet spread out, taking positions just outside the enemy's detection range. Marlowe's heart raced as the clock ticked down. Every second felt like an eternity. She had led her crew through countless battles, but this mission was different. If they failed here, the consequences would be devastating for the rest of humanity. Engage stealth mode, Marlowe ordered, her voice calm but filled with urgency. One by one, the ships powered down their engines and engaged their cloaking systems. The fleet became invisible to the alien radar, slipping past patrols and deep into the heart of the depot's defenses. Time seemed to slow as they crept toward their target, the only sound in the command room being the steady hum of the ship's systems. When they finally reached the energy core, the human fleet made its move. Marlowe's team planted the charges with precision, careful not to trigger any alarms. But as they prepared to leave, disaster struck. One of the alien patrol ships appeared out of nowhere, having detected a faint energy signature from the stealth field. It was a direct hit to their operation. Now they were exposed, and there was no way out without a fight. Marlowe's fingers flew over the controls, her mind working at a rapid pace. All ships, break formation and engage evasive maneuvers. We're not leaving without those charges detonating. The alien ship opened fire, its weapons lighting up the darkness of space. The human fleet returned fire with everything they had, their hybrid weapons more than a match for the alien ship's defenses. But time was running out. The alien forces had already begun to call for reinforcements, and it was only a matter of time before their small fleet would be overwhelmed. Marlowe's heart pounded in her chest, but she remained focused. Get those charges set. We can't let them disarm us. In a moment of pure instinct, Lieutenant Vega made a split-second decision. She locked onto the enemy ship's engine core, firing a precise shot that pierced the alien vessel's armor. The enemy ship faltered, its shields flickering as it drifted into a spin. The human ships seized the opportunity, opening fire once more, pushing the aliens into retreat. But as the alien ship began to implode, the explosion rippled through the depot, and the countdown on Marlowe's screen signaled the success of their mission. The supply lines had been cut, and the alien fleet's infrastructure was in ruins. Detonation successful. We've done it, Vega announced, her voice filled with relief. For a moment, there was silence. The human fleet had won this battle. But the war was far from over. As Marlowe watched the wreckage of the alien ship vanish into the darkness, she knew that their actions had sent a clear message across the galaxy. Humanity was no longer simply defending their world. They were now striking back with the full force of their collective strength. The invaders had underestimated them once before, and they would do so no longer. The days following the destruction of the alien supply depot were a whirlwind of mixed emotions on Earth. The victory was monumental. Humanity had struck at the heart of the alien war machine, crippling their ability to continue their invasion. Yet, even as they celebrated their success, there was no time to rest. The war was far from over, and the alien forces were not known for their mercy or forgiveness. They would regroup and retaliate, and humanity had to be ready. Back on Earth, the unified command structure that had been forged in the crucible of war now had the task of coordinating a new phase of the conflict. The global forces were more unified than ever. Nations that once stood on opposing sides were now allies in a single purpose. The human race, battered and bruised but not broken, was preparing to take the fight to the next level. Earth's new fleet was not just a defensive force. It was now an offensive armada, ready to pursue the invaders to the farthest reaches of space. Captain Marlowe and her crew had become legends among the human forces. Their daring raid had altered the course of the war, and their actions had inspired others across the globe. Humanity had found something they hadn't realized they had before: confidence. The aliens had been sure of their dominance, but that certainty had crumbled under the weight of human creativity, resilience, and unity. The message was clear: humanity would never be conquered, no matter the odds. But the reality of the situation remained grim. The alien invaders were formidable, and they would learn from their losses. Intelligence reports began to trickle in from various resistance outposts, confirming what humanity had feared. The aliens were amassing an even larger force, preparing for a final, all-out assault. Their fleet would be more powerful than anything humanity had ever faced. It was clear that the final battle for Earth was approaching, and both sides were gearing up for one last, decisive clash. Earth's scientists and engineers continued to refine the hybrid technologies that had given humanity its edge. The new weapons they had developed from alien tech were now fully operational, and human forces were outfitted with advanced combat armor, capable of withstanding the aliens' most powerful weapons. These advancements, along with the newly built fleets of hybrid ships, were their best hope. But even with these innovations, Earth's forces were still vastly outnumbered. They had no choice but to launch a daring counteroffensive and strike first before the aliens could launch their final blow. As the final preparations for war took shape, the world watched in anxious anticipation. People who had once lived in fear now stood with unwavering determination. The war had brought humanity to the brink, but it had also revealed their true strength. They had proven to themselves that they were capable of more than they ever thought possible. They were no longer the helpless, divided species the aliens had once assumed them to be. They were a united, unstoppable force. The day of the final battle arrived, and humanity's fleet gathered in orbit above Earth. The alien fleet, a monstrous force of warships, appeared on the horizon. It was the moment of truth, the moment that would decide the fate of the planet. Captain Marlowe stood at the helm of her ship, her eyes focused on the vast expanse of space ahead. "This is it," she said quietly, her voice filled with resolve. "Let's show them what humanity is made of." The two fleets met in space, a clash of titanic forces that shook the very fabric of the galaxy. The skies above Earth were lit with the flashes of laser fire, as ships from both sides maneuvered in a deadly dance. The battle was brutal, every moment a fight for survival. Yet, despite the overwhelming odds, humanity fought with a determination that the aliens had never anticipated. The hybrid ships proved their worth, outmaneuvering the alien fleet and striking from unexpected angles. Human soldiers, equipped with new technology and battle tactics, engaged the invaders with a ferocity that stunned the alien commanders. Slowly but surely, humanity's forces began to turn the tide. It was a long and bloody battle, but in the end, humanity emerged victorious. The alien fleet, shattered and broken, retreated into the void, their commanders realizing that they had underestimated Earth's strength beyond measure. The war was over. Earth had won. In the aftermath, as the dust settled and the world began to rebuild, humanity stood tall. They had faced extinction and emerged victorious. The alien invaders had learned the hard way that humanity was not to be underestimated. They were a species that could rise from the ashes, adapt to any challenge, and fight with an unbreakable spirit. As peace returned to Earth, the lessons of the war remained etched in the hearts and minds of all who had lived through it. The galaxy would forever remember the day humanity stood against an unstoppable force and proved that even in the face of overwhelming odds, the strength of the human will could never be broken. The stars had witnessed the rise of a new power in the universe, and humanity would never again be seen as weak. As the years passed after the war's end, Earth began its long and arduous recovery. Cities that had been reduced to rubble slowly rebuilt themselves, and the scars of battle faded with time. But humanity would never forget the sacrifices made during the conflict, nor the lessons they had learned. The war had forged a new identity for the human race, one united not just by the scars of war, but by the shared experience of survival, innovation, and triumph. In the wake of their victory, Earth's leaders established the United Earth Defense Council, UEDC, an organization tasked with ensuring that humanity was prepared for any future threats. The council brought together the brightest minds from every nation, pooling resources and knowledge to create an advanced defense network that spanned the globe and extended into space. Earth's military strength, once limited and divided, was now a single unified force. The hybrid ships that had turned the tide of the war were no longer relics of a bygone era. They were the foundation for humanity's new fleet, and their technology continued to evolve as human ingenuity combined with alien technology to create unimaginable advancements. But the war's legacy was not just technological. It had reshaped humanity's view of itself. The fractures that had once divided nations, political, cultural, and ideological, had been healed by the shared struggle. The global unity forged in the crucible of war became a guiding principle in the years that followed. No longer was humanity scattered in divided factions. Now, they stood as one, bound together by a single purpose and a shared history. Despite their newfound strength, Earth's leaders knew that peace would never be guaranteed. The alien forces had retreated, but they had not been destroyed. There were still remnants of their fleets scattered across the galaxy, and the possibility of retaliation remained a constant threat. Humanity's victory had sent a clear message, but the universe was vast, and the potential for new threats was ever present. The UEDC established a network of deep space stations, each one a beacon of humanity's reach beyond Earth. These stations served as monitoring points, watching the stars for any signs of alien activity. The defense fleets patrolled the outer edges of human territory, prepared to respond to any hostile movement in the dark expanse of space. The galactic map was expanding, and humanity's role in it had shifted. They were no longer a species cowering under the shadow of superior alien forces. They had proven themselves capable of fighting back, of holding their ground, and of pushing forward. But even as Earth prepared for the unknown, there was a growing sense of optimism. Humanity's victory had not just been a defense of their world, it had been a statement to the universe. They had shown that they would not be cowed by any force, no matter how advanced or seemingly unstoppable. The alien invaders had come to Earth with the expectation of easy conquest, but they had been met with an unexpected resolve, a relentless will to survive, and a willingness to fight back. And humanity's strength was not just in their technology or military prowess. It was in their hearts, their minds, and their unyielding spirit. The war had brought them to the brink, but it had also revealed something deeper, a collective resilience that could not be extinguished. They had fought for their homes, their families, their future, and in doing so, they had become something greater than they had ever been before. The story of humanity's victory became a tale told across the galaxy, a reminder to all who would dare to invade or conquer that the human race was no longer to be underestimated. As Earth reached out to the stars, there was no longer any doubt that humanity would rise to whatever challenge the universe might throw at them. In the end, humanity had not just survived the war, they had emerged stronger than ever before, and as they looked to the stars, they knew that their place in the galaxy had been irrevocably changed. The human race was no longer a fledgling species, they were a force to be reckoned with. The invaders had come for Earth, but they had awakened a sleeping giant. And now, the universe knew one undeniable truth. Humanity would always fight to the last breath, and they would never be defeated.